So Chase right now has a transfer bonus to Aeroplan. If you are someone who has Chase Ultimate Reward points, you should highly consider taking advantage of this transfer bonus. For those of you who are not familiar with Aeroplan, they are the award program for Air Canada. And while you may not have any plans to be going to Canada, you don't need to fly to Canada to get incredible value from your Aeroplan points. So the transfer bonus that is currently going on from Chase over to Aeroplan is a 20% transfer bonus. So this would mean, for simple math, if you transfer over 100,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points, you would get 120,000 Aeroplan points. And this transfer bonus is going to be going on until July 17th. Now I know that a high percentage of people who have Chase Ultimate Reward points redeem them one of two ways. Either with their Chase Sapphire Preferred or their Chase Sapphire Reserved through the Chase Travel Portal, getting them either 1.25 or 1.5 cents per point, or they grab onto their Chase Ultimate Reward points, transfer them over to their World of Hyatt account to be able to book World of Hyatt stays. Now I am someone who's transferred over a lot of Chase Ultimate Reward points to my World of Hyatt account over the years. And while Hyatt is my go-to transfer partner with Chase, Aeroplan is my second favorite transfer partner with Chase. Now other banks have Aeroplan as a transfer partner, so Chase having Aeroplan as a transfer partner doesn't make it super special. But what Chase does to make Aeroplan special is that ever since Chase added Aeroplan as a transfer partner, and they also added the Aeroplan card, Chase has been the only bank that has had a transfer bonus with Aeroplan, except for Bilt Rewards that works on its own type of rules. So for the last few years, Chase has pretty much been the only bank that's offering transfer bonuses to Aeroplan. And transfer bonuses are huge. This is the way that I'm able to travel around to so many different destinations in luxury for so few amount of points. I almost always take advantage of transfer bonuses. In fact, the vast majority of my award bookings have been done when I have taken advantage of a transfer bonus with that program. And the thing that you may not know about Aeroplan is that they're one of the most powerful programs in the world of points and miles. They offer some of the best prices for premium seats in the game. Aeroplan is partnered with 52 other airlines, which is a ton. Now there are going to be some airlines you've never heard of before, like Air Serbia, but there also are really popular ones that you most certainly have heard of, like United, or Lufthansa, or Eva Air, or ANA, and so on. In the last year, I've flown with Swiss Air and EVA in business class, and I flew with Lufthansa in first class. And all of this could be booked with Aeroplan miles. And not only can these flights be booked with Aeroplan miles, they can be booked for what I would consider to be a reasonable price. If you want to fly with Swiss Air in business class from the East Coast of the US over to Europe, you can do that for 60,000 Aeroplan miles. If you want to fly from the West Coast of the US over to Taipei with EVA in business class, you can do that for 75,000 Aeroplan miles. If you want to fly in first class from Germany over to the East Coast of the US with Lufthansa, you can do that for 90,000 Aeroplan miles. I would consider all these to be a reasonable price for a lay flat bed across an ocean, especially when you compare what the actual cash cost is. And if you take advantage also of the 20% transfer bonus, now you're looking at getting a business class flight from the East Coast of the US over to Europe for 50,000 points, or doing a business class flight over to Taipei from the West Coast US for 62,500 points, or doing a first class flight with Lufthansa from the East Coast of the US for only 75,000 points. So if you were someone who took advantage of the elevated offer for the Chase Sapphire Preferred a month ago, where you could get 100,000 points after hitting a minimum spend, you would have enough points to be able to book a first class flight with Lufthansa. If you look at the sticker price of a first class flight with Lufthansa, it ends up being close to like $8,000 each way. Or you'd have enough points to be able to do a business class flight round trip over to Europe, because when you add in that 20% transfer bonus, that would make it only 50,000 points each way. This is how incredible Aeroplan points can end up being when you take advantage of them. Now I know some of you are probably thinking, well, it'd be great to be able to get a business class flight round trip over to Europe, but it's challenging to find award availability. And while I will admit that the challenging part of the world of points miles is finding award availability, when it comes to finding award availability with Aeroplan, especially over to Europe, they are much better than the vast majority of other programs out there. Like say you want to find award availability over to Europe this summer, with Aeroplan, there actually is still good award availability. You could do it the old-fashioned way if you wanted to, which ends up just being to go to Aeroplan's website and then just check on the dates that you wish to travel and see if you can find a business class flight open. Or you could use one of the many tools that are out there now to make it easier to find award availability. And the two that I recommend are Seats.Aero and Points.Yeah. Now Seats.Aero is one that gives you a lot of data and information. And I don't really recommend this for people who are newer into finding award availability. So if you don't already know how to find award availability just from regular searching, then I wouldn't even recommend to use Seats.Aero, because I think it would end up being a little bit more confusing. But Points Yeah is one that I do recommend for people who are newer into finding award availability because it's pretty much the same thing as using like Kayak or Expedia, but instead of it just giving you a cash cost for a flight that you wish to take, it's going to give you a points cost for a flight that you wish to take. Now I use both of these tools, but I also search the old-fashioned way just directly on the website because while these tools are great, they do tend to miss some things, and if I just go directly to the website, and since I know how to just find award availability that way, even though it does take more time, if I know the date that I wish to travel, it will pop up first on the direct website of these different airlines as compared to the search tools that end up scanning these different airlines to give you the information. Seats.Aero and Points.Yeah have both free versions and paid versions. And while you can get a decent amount of information from the free version, the paid versions aren't very expensive and they can save you an enormous amount of time. They can have it so that you can search a wider span of award availability and also set up alerts. So yes, you are going to have to pay, and I do know that the people in the world of points and miles are all about trying to spend as little as possible, but trust me, it's going to be worth it if you do end up paying for the paid versions, just because the amount of time you're going to end up saving is going to be well worth the amount of cash you're going to end up paying. But just doing some quick searching, I see that there is still award availability to fly from New York over to Frankfurt with Singapore Airlines in business class on their 5th Freedom flight for only 60,000 Aeroplan miles in August. If you prefer to fly to Zurich instead, you can also fly there for 60,000 Aeroplan points in business class, and there are 3 seats available on the date on the screen. If you want to fly over to London, there are 5 business class seats available on July 10th, redeeming Aeroplan points to fly with United. Now, unfortunately, if you are going to be flying with United in business class, it's going to require 80,000 Aeroplan points for a business class seat as compared to the 60,000 Aeroplan points it would cost for business class seats with the other airlines that are partnered with Aeroplan. And although this elevated price is annoying with United, if you add in that 20% transfer bonus, it does make it a lot more reasonable, coming in at 67,000 Aeroplan miles to be able to get a business class flight with United, flying United Polaris. And while that price is still a little high, the fact that there are 5 available seats to be able to take the entire family over to London to look at Big Ben can make it worth it. As you can see, Aeroplan offers what I would consider to be reasonable deals. Are they the cheapest deals out there? No. You can fly cheaper with Virgin Atlantic in business class, also with Iberia in business class, American Airlines in business class, and even with Condor with Alaskan Airlines miles in business class. But there are a few things that Aeroplan does better than these other programs, such as having more award availability, but also low taxes and fees, along with the ability to connect onward in Europe or beyond. Now, there are probably a number of you who are thinking, okay, JP, I want to transfer over my Chase points to Aeroplan, but I really value staying at Hyatt properties, so because of that, I'd rather just save all of my Chase points to be able to transfer over to the world of Hyatt to be able to book all of my Hyatt stays. And while the dollar value for a stay at a Hyatt property is usually much less than the dollar value for a premium seat across an ocean, I still understand why you'd want to transfer over your Chase Ultimate Reward points to your Hyatt account because you really value staying at these nice properties. I myself also value staying at these nice properties because I have way fonder memories staying at these properties than I do with flying in the premium cabins. Now, I know this may be controversial, but I've said something along these lines on this channel before, but there are a lot more hotels that I wish to stay at versus flights that I wish to take. The hotels that I wish to stay at are ones that I want to be able to get the full experience at, plus also be able to travel around the areas within that new location that I'm in, whereas the flights that I wish to take, while there are some flights that I wish to take, many of the flights that I am taking are going to be flights that are going to just get me to the destination with the hotel that I want to stay in and also the area that I wish to explore in. I know that there's a lot of people out there who don't care about the hotel, they just want a place to sleep. For myself, when I'm in a nice hotel, it really improves my entire travel experience. And while there are some really cool flights that improve my entire travel experience, there are many business class flights that just make it so that my travel experience isn't just absolutely horrible to either get home or to the destination. I know that we don't all agree on this. I mean, yes, I would love to fly in first class with Emirates with all of my brothers. That would be an incredible experience. But if it was me and all my brothers flying in business class with Iberia, I think I would just be happy that we're not all in economy. For many airlines, the best part about being in a premium cabin is just that you're not in economy. But going back to Aeroplan, there are ways to redeem your Aeroplan points at Hyatt properties and get better value than you would if you transfer over your Chase Ultimate Reward points to your World of Hyatt account to be able to book stays at that exact same property. And the way that you do that is by getting the Aeroplan card. Now, I'm not going to do an entire review of the Aeroplan card because I already have reviews of it on this channel, but just know that there are a few benefits from the Aeroplan card that you should know that can end up giving you really good value for your travel. The first benefit is going to be a 10% boost when you transfer over your Chase Ultimate Reward points to your Aeroplan account. You have to transfer over at least 50,000 points to get this 10% boost, but when you do that, you can stack this with the 20% transfer bonus that is currently going on. So if you transferred over 100,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points, instead of you getting 120,000 because of the 20% boost, you get 130,000 if you also have the Aeroplan card. And the next benefit is going to be to redeem your Aeroplan points for travel at 1.25 cents per point. This is done with the Aeroplan card. So when you use your Aeroplan card and you do it with travel, you will have the option to be able to redeem your Aeroplan points for 1.25 cents per point. You don't need to use any portal. You can just use the card. You still end up earning points, but you get to redeem your Aeroplan points for that travel purchase. Now, where I personally use the pay yourself back for travel is when I combine it with a transfer bonus. Because what ends up happening is that you essentially get a pay yourself back for travel at a cash out rate of 1.625 cents per point. So this beats out the Chase Sapphire Preferred and even the Chase Sapphire Reserved, and there's no portal required to be able to do this. And the reason why it's great that you don't need to use a portal to be able to do this is because in many instances where you do end up using a portal, you're not going to be able to get your status honored, and you're also not going to be able to earn points. But with the Aeroplan card and doing this pay yourself back for travel, you'll be able to get your status honored, and you also be able to earn points on that stay as well because it's considered as a cash booking. I recently did this at the Park Hyatt in Saigon. This is a property that I want to stay at for my birthday, and I'm happy I did because this is an absolutely incredible property. If you happen to be going over to Vietnam, I couldn't recommend a property more than this one. Now, this property typically goes for somewhere along the lines of like $250 to $300 per night. So if I grab onto a random 5 nights in the month of July, you will see that it costs close to about $1,400 to be able to stay at this property. The Park Hyatt in Saigon is a Category 5 property with the World of Hyatt, so the amount of points that is required to stay at this property is going to be 20,000 points per night. So if I stayed here for 5 nights, it would require 100,000 points to stay at this property, and since it only costs about $1,400 for a cash cost, that would get me well below my 2 cents per point that I'm looking for with redeeming my Hyatt points. Now, some people may say, well, just pay cash out of pocket because it's not worth it to redeem your World of Hyatt points at this low of value. And while I would agree that I wouldn't want to use my World of Hyatt points at this low of value, I also don't want to have to pay $1,400 out of pocket. So what I did for my stay was I took advantage of the 20% transfer bonus from Chase over to Aeroplan. And since I have the Aeroplan card, I was able to get an additional 10% boost from Chase over to Aeroplan. And I used the Aeroplan card to pay for my stay. And since I used the Aeroplan card to pay for my stay, I was able to do a pay yourself back for travel. And the amount of points it would require for something that ends up being a $1,400 stay would end up being 107,000 points. Now, I know you might hear this and go, well, wait a minute, it was 100,000 points if you end up using Hyatt points, and now it's end up being 107,000 Aeroplan points to be able to make this booking. Why wouldn't you just want to use the Hyatt points instead? Well, you have to remember that I am taking advantage of a transfer bonus. So while it did require 107,000 Aeroplan points as compared to 100,000 World of Hyatt points, I had to transfer over 100,000 points to the World of Hyatt at a 1-to-1 ratio to be able to get that amount of points. But I didn't have to transfer 107,000 points over to Aeroplan because I got it at a 1-to-1-to-3 ratio because of the 30% transfer bonus. So instead, I only needed to transfer over 83,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points to be able to get 107,000 Aeroplan miles to make this award stay. But there's an added kicker to this. I'm also going to be earning points with Hyatt since it's considered as a cash booking for that $1,400 I'm going to be spending at that property. So I'll be earning close to like 10,000 points, which I could redeem for in the future for probably a value of roughly about $200. This is something that would not happen if I was to redeem Hyatt points to stay at this property. If I was to redeem the 100,000 World of Hyatt points required to stay at this property, I wouldn't be earning any points on top of it outside of some type of promotion that could be happening. So when you add earning points along with the Aeroplan card trick giving you 1.625 cents per point, you get a total value very close to being 2 cents per point, which is what many people are aiming for at a base level value for redeeming their World of Hyatt points. So if you happen to be going to a World of Hyatt property that's going to be giving you under 2 cents per point redeem your World of Hyatt points there, then doing this trick with the Aeroplan card is going to be your next best option. And add in a Sweet Upgrade Award certificate like I did, and it makes this deal even nicer. Now there are caps with the Aeroplan card, such as how many points you can get as a boost with the 10% transfer, and then also the 1.25 cents for pay yourself back for travel has a cap as well. But just because there is a cap doesn't mean you shouldn't be trying to take advantage of this when you end up seeing the opportunity arise in a situation that makes sense. Seeing that I can get a 30% transfer bonus from Chase over to Aeroplan, I know that I'm going to transfer over at the very least 150,000 of my Chase Ultimate Reward points over to my Aeroplan account. Now at this moment, I'm not sure if I'm going to redeem this for Hyatt stays or to book business class flights. Chances are it's probably going to be a mixture of the two. Now some of you may be wondering, well JP, if you don't already have an award booking planned out to redeem these Aeroplan points, don't you worry about devaluations? And while I wouldn't be happy if a devaluation did happen, the thing that I like about transfer bonuses is it's kind of like that it already takes into consideration a devaluation. So what I mean by that is that if there is a devaluation with Aeroplan, hopefully it doesn't exceed 30%, because if it does end up even getting to 30%, then it's like I just transferred over my Aeroplan points at the old price, which as I said earlier in this video, has many reasonable deals for award bookings. For example, United used to also require 60,000 points to fly in business class from the East Coast US over to Europe, but they recently changed it to being 80,000 points to do this business class flight. But if you add in the 30% transfer bonus, now it comes down to being 62,000. So that is very close to what the other programs are asking for, just at the regular price. And that's kind of how I end up seeing transfer bonuses now. This is the reason why I always take advantage of them, because I see that these programs are devaluing, but they also are increasing their transfer bonuses. So they kind of in a way are allowing us to still take advantage of the old prices, but we just have to time it correctly. I know not everyone will look at it that way, but I'm trying to be the glass half full with devaluations. Aeroplan is not just competitive, they're arguably the best transfer partner in the game. And when you add in a 20 or 30% transfer bonus, this is a deal that you want to take advantage of and not miss out on. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section down below, what are your thoughts about Aeroplan? And are you going to take advantage of this 20% transfer bonus? Or are you going to hold off because you'd rather transfer over all of your Chase points to your World of Hyatt account? Now, if you happen to have any questions, you can drop the questions in the comment section down below. I'll do the best I can to answer it. If you happen to be looking for any new cards, check out my links in the description box down below to learn more. If you do decide to use any of my links, it does really help out the channel, and I'll be incredibly thankful for your support. If you want to become a Points Miles booking expert, go to Points Travel 101 to purchase my course. After completing my course, you'll be confident with booking business and first class flights all over the world. If you haven't realized this video, do me a favor. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video, and have a beautiful rest of your day.